Well, for the last few weeks, we've been talking about one primary thing during Lent, and that's trust. We started with just a simple question for our prayer time: God, do I trust you? And then we went a little bit deeper with another question: God, why do I not fully trust you? Because we all kind of have a blend. And falling into temptation, which we're trying to avoid, especially during Lent, is usually a trust issue. God says one thing is going to lead to life. Something else promises some kind of immediate happiness right now that's fleeting. And if we don't trust him, we're going to choose the immediate thing instead of the life that he's offering us. And last week, we looked at the Samaritan woman at the well and saw something critical, that when we begin to experience the goodness of God, that's when we begin to trust him. So we then asked in prayer the most logical question: God, do I believe that you're good? That's the hardest one so far. And that brings us to today. Today is Laetare Sunday. In the middle of Lent, the church suddenly tells us, rejoice. That's what Laetare means. And it can feel a little out of place, a little disjointed. We're still fasting. We're still doing our penances. We're still in Lent. We're on the journey. Why insert this rejoicing right now? Because the church is reminding us of something essential to trust. That when you trust someone, you can rejoice with them even before the journey is finished. It's like being a kid and you go somewhere with your mom, your dad, your family. You can be joyful while you're on the way, knowing that something that you desire is at the end. You're going to end at Yosemite or ice cream or something. And so there can be like joy in your heart, even in the midst of moving forward. Laetare Sunday, this Sunday, is the church telling us, remember where God is leading you. Lent isn't about misery. It's about transformation. And the destination is joy. That's what the Lord wants for us. I'd be remiss if I didn't use our patron, St. Patrick, as an example of this joy today. As you well know, I'm sure Patrick was not originally Irish. He was kidnapped from Britain as a teenager and brought to Ireland as a slave. And for years, he lived in that state, in isolation, in severe hardship. He was a shepherd, like King David. But during that time, also like King David, something happened. While he was out there with the sheep, he began to pray constantly. And in that prayer, he experienced the goodness and the love of God for him personally. Then he trusted him. Not before that. It was in the intimacy, it was in the goodness he experienced while he was still suffering that he started to trust. And as you also well know, eventually he escaped and he got back home. I imagine most of us at that point, our basic interior reaction would be, thank God I got out of that place, I'm never going back. But Patrick had that dream. He had that dream where he saw the people of Ireland calling out to him, come back and walk among us once again. And he did. He went back to the place of his suffering, not as a slave, but as a missionary, and eventually a bishop. Why? Because he trusted that God was good and that he had something greater planned for him than his own personal fear. And a whole nation converted from the darkness of paganism to the Catholic faith. And that's the strange and beautiful thing about trusting God. That doesn't mean the journey is going to be easy. Patrick's journey was not easy. But when we begin to see that God is truly good, like Patrick, something changes inside of us. The blindness of our spiritual eyes are open. Fear loosens its grip. The future doesn't seem so heavy anymore. Even in the middle of the journey, something like joy can pop up in our hearts. That's why the church tells us to rejoice today. Because when we start to trust the one who's leading us, we begin to realize that the road we're walking on is already taking us exactly to the place we're meant to be. The question for our prayer this week is this: God, do I believe that you have my best interest in mind? Do I believe that you have my best interest in mind? Do I believe that you're good and you actually want good things for me? That you want to get me all the way from where I am now to a place so far beyond my expectations that I can't even imagine it. Sit with him in that place in prayer this week.